So I'm so curious about this one because I think a lot of people kind of use this as like an advantage. One of their soft skills that they have is detail oriented and totally on the ball. And so I'm curious because this stat is so interesting to me that like because of a typo on the resume, 61% of candidates actually will get kind of disregarded because of a spelling mistake. How often do you see that when you're looking at resumes? And do you think that number, that percentage is actually high, or could that be a little bit lower based on an error or a typo that you see?
I would say that that's probably fairly accurate. I again don't know the necessarily exact percentage off the top of my head based on the resumes that I see, but I would guess or estimate that that's fairly accurate. And again, it sort of does depend on the role in that particular case. If someone or if that again detail orientation and attention to detail and organizational skills, communication, if those are kind of deemed to be really important or really highly sought after skills in that particular job type, whether it's sales, for example, or an executive assistant or a customer success manager or customer support specialist, where those kinds of things often are very critical, or even in my role as a recruiter, I would say that yes, having those kinds of typos or grammatical errors, things like that, can negatively impact how your resume is reviewed, or potentially even kind of have you declined from the process, especially if it's a very competitive application and there are potentially tens or hundreds of other candidates. Something as simple as that can make a difference. So I always advise candidates to kind of double, triple check your own resume. Use, of course, the tools that are out there, whether it's spell check in Microsoft Word or Grammarly extension in your browser, and ultimately just having your resume reviewed by a couple of other people with kind of an objective sort of third party point of view is never a bad idea before submitting it for any job application as well.
That's very fair.